If you feel like you can't focus no matter how hard you try, there's a reason. In this video, you'll learn the one simple change that can literally rewire your brain and make deep focus effortless again. Most people think willpower is a distraction problem. It's not. It's a dopamine problem. And once you fix it, your life, your work, and even your happiness will improve in ways you can't imagine. Here's the crazy part. Everyone knows that social media can hurt their life when used wrong. It wastes precious time. You compare your normal life to other people's highlight reels, but it's far worse than that. It's quietly hijacking your brain's reward system, the part that tells you what's exciting, fun, or worth doing. And it's why you can't sit still to work on the project that matters most. It's why reading feels boring, deep work feels impossible, and your attention span feels shorter every month. You see, your brain wants dopamine. It's the key input that determines whether you should do something or not. And for good reason. Eating food gives you dopamine, so you constantly seek food and don't starve to death. Sex gives you dopamine, so humans continue to have kids and keep our species alive. Helping others feels good, so we build strong relationships that help us survive and thrive. But businesses have learned how to exploit this subconscious process to increase their profits, all at your expense, by creating products that flood you with dopamine, even when they're bad for you. Pharmaceutical companies do it with addictive drugs, casinos do it with gambling, and tech giants do it with social media. While there are dozens of bad habits you should try to avoid, social media is the one you can improve right now. So you can focus deeply, make rapid progress toward your goals, and love life on a whole new level. Here's what's happening and how to fix it. Let's start by understanding what's actually happening in your brain. Because the real problem isn't distraction, it's chemistry. Every time you open a scrolling app, Instagram, TikTok, or even a news app, your brain gets flooded with dopamine. It feels harmless, and in fact, it feels good because that's what dopamine does. It's relaxing, entertaining, and you constantly learn new things. But your brain starts to adapt, and it recalibrates your baseline dopamine levels. In other words, it will only deeply focus on something if it provides that level of dopamine. Unfortunately, the tasks that will change your life, things like sitting down to write, starting a yoga session, emailing prospects, analyzing business processes, studying for a test, or calling a loved one, simply can't compete. They do release dopamine, just not nearly as much as highly stimulating social content. So when you try to do them, your brain immediately gets distracted and starts thinking about activities that will give it the dopamine it's used to getting. That's why most people can't focus. It's not that they're lazy, it's that their baseline dopamine levels are completely out of whack. But here's the good news. Once you remove the flood, your brain readjusts shockingly fast. Within days, important things that used to feel dull start to feel fun again. Your brain begins to crave depth instead of distraction, because that's where it now expects to get dopamine. So, how do you reset it, and not just temporarily, but for good? Let's talk about exactly how to reclaim control of your dopamine. It's probably pretty obvious that the best strategy is to delete social media apps and stop using them altogether. And while I do recommend that in many cases, I know it's not realistic for a lot of people. Maybe you have friends you want to stay in touch with. Maybe you use it for work and networking. Or maybe you don't want to give up your favorite source of news, education, and entertainment. I get it. And if so, that's fine. The real goal has nothing to do with social media anyway. It's to regain control over your focus and your attention. So here are exact steps to achieve it. First, stop reactively using social media. Stop using it to fix boredom. Stop pulling out your phone because you have a free minute. Stop opening Instagram when you wake up to see what's going on. And stop cycling through your apps while you're sitting on the toilet. Instead, determine your true goal with social media. Then set specific times to do it. Like, after lunch, I'll scroll IG for 15 minutes to reply to friends and check for industry updates. Second, don't use social media as a break. Don't finish a work session, think, I need a break, and then start scrolling. Otherwise, you'll flood your brain with dopamine. And when it's time to get back to your task, It will feel boring compared to the scrolling, and you'll struggle to focus. So, if you are going to use social media or any other dopamine flooding habit, here are 3 tips to follow. 1. Use them as infrequently as possible. Even limiting scrolling to once a week instead of every day will dramatically improve your focus, productivity, and overall well-being. 2. Keep them as far from meaningful work as possible. Don't use social media between deep work sessions. Don't use it when you're at the gym. And don't use it in the middle of your workday. If you do, follow it with a non-work task you were already going to do before hopping into something productive. For example, I like to watch YouTube with my lunch, but after I eat, I go for a 20-minute walk with no phone. This helps lower my dopamine levels before diving back into my work. And 3, keep these away from sleep. Don't scroll right before bed or right after waking up. Scrolling before bed wrecks your sleep, which is crucial for your overall energy and focus. And scrolling when you wake up sets you up for failure, making it significantly harder to avoid for the rest of the day. While it's best to stop scrolling altogether, these tips help you take control of your habits so you can still use them without ruining your life. And instead, you can develop the ability to focus deeply and make real, fast progress toward the goals that matter most to you. But there's one more trick that will supercharge everything you just learned. It's not about adding more stimulation. It's about tapping into the hidden power of boring. Have you ever been in a long line at the grocery store? You're painfully bored, waiting for your turn to simply give them your money so you can go home with your food. But, like magic, once it's time to load your groceries onto the conveyor belt to check out, you forget about being bored. You're simply focused on unloading your cart. I'm willing to bet no one finds unloading a cart fun or exciting. Yet no one feels bored or distracted while doing it. Why? Because it was preceded by a much more boring activity. And we can use this magic to help you focus on anything that matters to you. Since you're no longer scrolling when you take breaks, you can now use this time to be bored. Seriously, look out the window, go for a walk, sit on the couch, or heck, stare at the wall. Let your brain feel empty again. At first, it'll feel uncomfortable, almost like a withdrawal. It might even feel like a waste of time, but that's just your brain recalibrating. Within a few days, boredom feels peaceful. And that peace turns into focus. Because now, when you sit down to work, your brain actually wants to engage. It starts releasing dopamine from the process of thinking, creating, solving, and doing, not from scrolling. And this is where the magic happens. Because once your focus deepens, your results compound. But it's not just about feeling more focused. There's a reason why deep focus multiplies your results far faster than most people realize. Let me show you how that works. Here's the best way to visualize it. Have you ever written a paper where you already have the topic and ideas, but you're wrapping your brain around the structure and how you'll connect all the pieces? For the first 20 minutes, nothing really happens. You're just orienting yourself with the project. For the next 20 minutes, you start jotting down ideas, writing sentences, and moving things around. Then, for the final 20 minutes, you start flowing. The outcome is clear and the paper seems to write itself. The real value is in those final 20 minutes. But if you can't focus for longer than 20 minutes, you'll never reach that level of depth. Each time you sit down to write, you'll have to remember where you were. You'll have to refamiliarize yourself with the goal, the premise, and the talking points. Sure, you'll eventually finish your paper, but it'll take way longer, and it won't be nearly as good. That's why focus matters and what it looks like when it compounds. Because the longer you focus, the deeper you get. And each layer of depth multiplies your results. So if you've been wondering why you're not making progress despite all the work, this is probably why. Your focus, not your hours, determines the speed and quality of your work. So if you've been grinding for hours but still feel stuck, the problem isn't your effort, it's your focus. Let's recap exactly how to fix it. Society sets us up to fail, but all hope isn't lost. You just need to fix your focus by recalibrating your dopamine. Here's a quick summary to do that. First, set boundaries. Don't use social media reactively. Instead, clarify exactly what you want from it. Then set specific times to use it. Also, don't use social media for breaks. Don't use it right before bed or after waking up. And don't jump into work right after using social media. Second, when taking breaks, replace scrolling with something boring. Once you do that, your focus rebuilds itself. Your work becomes fun again. And instead of chasing dopamine, you start creating it. If there's a goal you've been struggling with but badly want, this fix will help tremendously. But there are several other hidden constraints that can hold you back. If you want help identifying them so you can make progress right now, grab the Goal Smash Jumpstart below. It's completely free and it'll show you exactly what's keeping you stuck so you can fix it fast. You'll find a link in the description below.